A prayer for my daughter is our next poem. It's a poem addressed to his young daughter called Ann, who was born on February 25th, 1990. The Irish were fighting the English for the independence, and Yeats was staying at an ancient 15th century place called Thur Valley, castle in the island, a tower castle that represented to Yeats a stable period of history. So tower is the symbol of stability in history. The poem proposes the means of rescuing, saving the self, heart and soul to beauty from a world of growing disorder, chaos, disintegration and increasing human misery. So we start the study of this poem. This is the first verse paragraph. Once more the storm is howling. The storm sets the symbolic backdrop to this majestic poem, a long poem. So storm is howling outside, and half hid under this cradle hood and coverlet my child sleeps on. The child is enjoying sleep undisturbed. It's not worried about, because she was an infant and she's covered, half covered in the blanket. There is no obstacle but Gregory's wood and one bare hill. Only one hill is there to protect her from the rising storm and howling wind. And that place is the place of stability called Thur Valley, a gift given to him by his patron called Lady Gregory. She is mentioned there, but Gregory's wood. So Gregory's woods and a bare hill are the protective gear for this child. Thereby the haystack and roof leveling wind bred on the Atlantic can be stayed. So she can enjoy security against the walls of this palatial house. And for an hour I have walked and prayed because of the great gloom that is in my mind. The poet says, this storm outside has triggered a gloom, a parallel gloom, an anxiety, a worry for the child. So he is anxious for the future of the child. Let's go and sum up the first stanza in the prose form. So this poem, a prayer for my daughter, was written 2 days after the birth of Yeats' daughter Anne, who arrived in the world on 26 Feb 1919. This was the time when Irish nation was fighting, Irish Republicans were fighting for the independence. So he describes his mood in the next stanza. I have walked and prayed for this young child, and it's a time of midnight, but he's awake. He's pacing the room, praying for the future of this young child, because she is going to face the chaotic time, and heard the sea wind scream upon the tower and under the arches of the bridge and scream. A huge wind is rising, threatening the bridges and the tower and every available things in the vicinity. In the elm above the flooded stream, imagining in excited reverie that the future years have come, dancing to the frenzied drum, the poet now have the vision of the future, that the future time will be a chaotic time, a frenzied time, and they have come on the beat of the drum. So this poem is a celebration of the virtues of the bygone era and the coming of a new era which the poet believes will wipe away all the values of the conventional society. Out of the murderous innocence of the sea. So look at the oxymoron there. This wind is rising from the murderous innocence of the sea. A romantic image, but this image serves only as a background, as a backdrop to this long poem. Now, the prose analysis, the summary form. Yeats' poem begins with a description of the storm howling outside, while his newborn daughter lies partially covered by a blanket in her cradle. Protected from the outside world, the speaker seems anxious or worried about his daughter for various reasons. Before even beginning his actual prayer, Yeats sees and sets the scene by describing the condition he views around the world and around him. He is surrounded by a howling storm. A great gust of wind is blowing, waves crashing against the bridges, collapsing building, threatening the lives of anyone who is outside on the sea. Into this chaotic world his daughter has born, and he fears for her life, her safety. Yeats sees his infant daughter caught between two possible realities. The first is the storm that is howling in Irish politics and past being overturned by the carnage of the Great War, the First World War. The second is the opposite reality, what he calls ceremony and custom. These are some of the virtues of the bygone era, civil virtues, courtesy, kindness, magnanimity. These are some of the virtues which have disappeared with the time. These virtues are represented to him by the tower in which he is staying. The violence of nature finds a parallel in the violence that is to come in the form of the Great War. So we continue with this poem. Here now begins the actual prayer. So in the next lines, he prays for her safety, and he has a wish, a desire, may she be granted beauty and yet not beauty to make a stranger's eyes distort. So he wants his daughter to be beautiful, loving, bewitching, but not over much beautiful. Why he doesn't want her daughter to be over much beautiful or ravishing beautiful? The reason is given the next line, or hers before a looking glass. because she will be conscious of herself, the physical self, and her beauty, and will spend her precious time looking in the mirror, in the glass. Consider beauty a sufficient end, because she will believe beauty is the only aim of her life and its care. So she will spend most of her time in bedecking herself. Lose natural kindness may be the heart revealing intimacy. She might become arrogant, self-conscious, and she will lose some of the natural virtues like kindness and magnanimity, and she may not find good friend. Heart revealing intimacy, such intimacy she may not find because of her consciousness of the beauty. That chooses right and never finds a friend, a person who's conscious of her physical self, poet believes can never make good friends. So these are some of the lines representing his wish, his desire. We continue with the prose analysis now of the line. The speaker in the second stanza imagines the future years have come dancing to the frenzied drum as the storm rages outside. Beyond the superficial concern about the storm, however, Yeats has deeper, lifelong concern. He is concerned that she be physically appealing but not so attractive that she thinks of beauty as her main accomplishment, her main achievement, and does not strive to develop relationship based upon anything other than appearance. He wishes her to learn courtesy, kindness, magnanimity, and hopes that she can have a life marked by stability and security, becoming a flourishing hidden tree, a metaphor for a life full of values, a life rooted in tradition. Yeats wishes that his daughter will be given beauty, but not that kind that will distract others or herself. That others might become distraught by her overmuch beauty, he doesn't want it. Or that she might become too preoccupied with her own image. In the mirror, for some people, beauty becomes more important than anything in life, and they pursue, or the pursuit of beauty leads one to believe that having beauty means nothing else is important in life. For some, having beauty robs them of natural kindness. It takes away natural kindness as well as honest intimacy, true friendship. So, beautiful people, they are generally arrogant, priggish. And the poet believes they can never make good friends, they can never win intimacy. Intimacy, he says, is not a gift but a behavior, a social behavior. So, which allows one to make the right choices rather than to idealize beauty to the extent of all other things in the world and not ever be able to find a true friend. Yeats allude to famous women now, some of the famous women who were beautiful in their life. So he is making reference to three beautiful women he knew. One is a historical figure, second is a mythological person, and the third one is the women he knew very well. because he was in love with this woman for all his life, for some 30 years. Yeats alludes to famous women who were considered beautiful and that their life was not actually so great. He speaks of Helen of Troy, Aphrodite, the queen, the mythical queen of impure love. She was born out of foam. And foam is a symbol of lust. The goddess of impure love, Yeats knows that beauty is fleeting, it's transient, it's not lasting. What he wishes for his daughter is courtesy and kindness. In other words, he wishes his daughter to have civil virtues and not excessive beauty. This is the first of the wishes of the father. Now we go to the next stanza, the next verse paragraph. Helen, being chosen, found life flat and dull. Helen of Troy is a remarkable example of ravishing beauty. But her life was cheerless. It was flat and dull. And later had much trouble from a fool. This fool was Paris, who abducted her and took her to Troy. And a great war was fought for her sake. A description of this war is given by Homer in his Iliad. While that great queen, the second person which he alludes to or refers to is Aphrodite, the queen of impure love that rose out of the spray. It was believed, it's a myth, that she was born out of sea foam. Sea foam, the symbol of lust. Being fatherless, could have her way, yet chose a bandy-legged smith for a man. Yeats believes only a father can give the right kind of advice to the daughter when it comes to the moment of the marriage. But this woman, Aphrodite, this queen Aphrodite, she made a wrong choice because she did not have a father, and she opted for a bandy-legged, a cripple Hephaestus, blacksmith of the gods. It's certain that the fine women eat crazy salad with their meat. This line simply means that beautiful women are wayward. They cannot make the right kind of a choice. They have got funny days. Thereby the horn of plenty is run and they lose all their fortune, because such people cannot make a sound judgment. Such women cannot make a right decision. This is what is the conception of this poet, the thought of this poet. And some of the feminists have been hitting him hard that he wants his daughter to be something vegetable-like. He wants his daughter to be vegetation or a piece of vegetation and not a human being. So it's very interesting to know the views of the feminists. So Yeats wishes that his daughter won't be too beautiful or intelligent, but insisted that she be gracious and kind. He writes to have knowledge or have her chiefly learnt in courtesy. I have her chiefly learned, hearts are not had as a gift, but hearts are earned. So you can win friendship. You can make good friends only by being courteous and kind, only by being civil in your behavior. In other words, in today's language, he would like her to have high emotional intelligence and good social skills. He wants her to avoid the hate he sees all around. He believes only father can give the right kind of advice or counsel to her daughter. Aphrodite, the goddess of impure love, did not have a father, so she could not make the right kind of a choice. She made a poor choice of her husband in the form of Hephaestus, the blacksmith of gods. He prays that her spirit will not be choked by the hatred of others. He prays that his daughter will develop the kind of characteristic that the women he loved did not possess. His former lover, Morgan, was beautiful and aware of it, and also fired by nationalistic fervor. Yeats prays that his daughter, by contrast, will be given beauty, but not too much beauty, because too much beauty can lead to vanity and inability to relate to others. So, she should be given moderate beauty. This is one of the prayers of the father. This is one piece of prayer. Now let's find more from the text. What is the second or the next verse paragraph? In courtesy I would have her chiefly learn. So he wants she should have training in civil virtue, courtesy and kindness. Hearts are not had as a gift, but hearts are earned. A beautiful person, he believes, can never make good friend, because good friend needs certain values which a beautiful person doesn't have. By those that are not entirely beautiful, so these values, in other words, if you want to make good friend and live an elegant life, you should have some of these values of the bygone era. But those that are not entirely beautiful, so it's a matter of attitude. Beauty is essentially a matter of attitude and not only physical appearance. Yet many that played the fool for beauty's very self has charmed, made wise. He is comparing two kinds of women. Morgan, his lover for 30 years long, and her wife, Hedy Lee. She was blessed with a charming personality, and she used to indulge in auto-writing. Auto-writing is generally done by spirits and ghosts. So Yeats believed in such magical occult practices. And his poetry is a mix of a variety of ideas, philosophies, and history. And many a poor woman, that man that has rode, loved, and thought himself beloved from a kindness cannot take his eyes. So he was made fool by Morgan. He admits many a poor man that has rode and they thought they were loved and admired by the women, they were brought back to their senses by the people who were not ravishingly beautiful. So these people, they recovered from their madness of love to find charm in not entirely beautiful person. We sum up now this stanza, and this is the summary statement. In fact, we continue with the text itself. And custom for the spreading laurel tree, Yeats has experienced the pain that accompanies great beauty in a woman. In his love for Morgan, an actress and a political activist, she was a most beautiful woman and ardent revolutionary, but she never returned love. So Yeats' love was the cause of his misery. While beautiful, this woman who he met at 22 and wooed for almost 30 years did not have the special quality of the women who Yeats ultimately married, called Georgie Hedy Lees. Gone's beauty brought her no satisfaction, and his love was also not returned, and left Yeats greatly frustrated. So he does not believe in the beauty of appearance, he believes in the beauty of soul. So we go to now the next verse paragraph, my mind. So beauty is not only physical, beauty is a matter of attitude, it's a matter of intelligence or IQ. Because the mind that I have loved, the sort of beauty that I have approved, prosper but little in the present time. He believes the kind of beauty he admired in the past, the kind of mind he appreciated in the past have disappeared. The people with such attitude, they have gone with the passage of time, has dried up of late. They are not available in the modern time. Yet knows that to be choked with hate may well be of all evil chances cheap. But he knows for certain hatred is the worst virtue, worst quality in a human being, especially the intellectual hatred. So he doesn't want her daughter to suffer from intellectual hatred. If there is no hatred in the mind, assault and battery of the wind can never tear the linnet from the leaf. Two images, linnet, the sweetness of thought, and leaf is the image of the tree, the synecdoche for the tree. When a part stands for whole, we call it, it's an image of synecdoche. So, if a person has the right attitude, nothing in the world can harm such a person. So, he wants his daughter to have such an emotional intelligence to withstand, to face the chaotic world and have a safe future. We'll sum up now this stanza. Yeats suggests that kindness and generosity breed trust and affection between people. Yeats would also wish his daughter a life of stability and deep rootedness. That is, a quiet life away from noisy thoroughness. Yeats did not want his daughter deeply involved with everything that seemed in his mind to be distrustful or frivolous. Intellectual, political, financial or emotional struggle she can withstand, she can face, only when she has the right kind of attitude. We continue summing up. He wanted his daughter to think less about her appearance and cultivate her own personal worth and her soul. Yeats' experience with Morgan Yeats' experience with Morgan And then his wife showed two very different women. And based upon his relationship with the two women or both women, he seemed to believe that the characteristic his wife had and the quality she had, he most admired, and those he hoped his daughter would also have. In an uncertain world with an uncertain future, therefore, Yeats seemed to argue that the disturbing changes in the world can be overcome through a life lived focused upon traditional value and the importance of human kindness. So in this stanza, he talks about the intellectual hatred which he believes is the worst kind of virtue or a flaw in human character. And intellectual hatred is the worst. So let her think opinions are curse or a curse. So strong opinionated mind is a cursed mind. It's a kind of mind which leads to misery and misfortune. Have I not seen the loveliest women born out of the mouth or plenty's horn? So he recalls Maud again and says, I have met and I have known this beautiful person, a fortunate person who was born with plenty, who had a great fortune. Because of her opinionated mind, she lost everything. Bartered that horn, that every good by quiet nature understood, for an old bellow full of angry wind. Two images, one is the image of the horn and second is the image of angry wind. Barter is the term for exchange. So this beautiful woman exchanged the horn, which was a blessing to her, for an angry billow. Angry billow is the term that comes from blacksmiths pump. It's a leather bag which is used to pump air into fire. And that's the image for the angry women. So she exchanged in her life that blessed horn for an angry bag of wind. And she became a frustrated woman in her later life. Yeats has experienced that pain that accompanies great beauty in a woman. In his love for Maud Gonne, an actress and political activist, she was beautiful, a woman, and he met her at a very young age, but she never had special quality, which Yeats ultimately found in his wife called Hedy Lee. Gonne gave away her natural gift for a below, the image of angry old women which she became in her later life. So it's a repetition of those lines which we have done earlier, but now we are taking up a new stanza. The poet imagines now what will happen to a human being if all the hatred is washed out of the mind. Considering that all hatred driven hence, the soul recovers radical innocence. This radical innocence is the state of peace of mind. It's called auto-reflexivity. So he believes she will develop auto-reflexivity after her mind is free from hatred, is washed away. and learn at least that it's self-delighting, self-appeasing, self-affrighting, she will find the source of fear, joy in herself. And that its own sweet will is heaven will. She will discover the great intimacy between herself and divinity. And she will be able to communicate with the divine forces. She can, though every face should scowl and every wind quarter howl or every billow burst, be happy still. So even if the world is chaotic, disturbed, she will find the source of happiness in herself. This is the formula, the mantra for the growth of the individual soul and self. In the tragic time, in the chaotic time, in the type of crisis. Now we are coming to the close of this poem. He hopes that she will grow up understanding the importance of being kind to others, treating all with courtesy and charm. He prays that her spirit will not be choked off by the hatred of others. She will be, and she will also develop auto-reflexivity. In other words, she will find the source of joy within herself. In an uncertain world with an uncertain future, therefore, Yeats seemed to argue that the disturbing changes in the world can be overcome through a life lived focused upon the traditional value and the importance of human kindness. Now, the closing line, the poet is having the vision of the young daughter getting married, and may her bridegroom brings her to a house where all is a custom ceremony, for arrogance and the hatred are the wares peddled in the thoroughfare. So he wants her daughter to wed in an aristocratic family, a traditional house. He prefers aristocracy, he loves aristocracy, and he hates. Look at the image there. Arrogance and hatred are the where. These are the qualities to be found in those who walk on the thoroughfare, the pedestrian lane, the commoner. So these are the qualities of the commoner, not the aristocrat. How but in custom and ceremony are innocence and beauty born. These are the virtues of the bygone era: innocence, beauty, ceremony, courtesy. Ceremony is named for the rich horn and the custom for the spreading laurel tree. So he wishes she will become a flourishing tree, a hidden tree, and live a private life. So let's now sum up. This is the concluding argument. This is the closing statement of the poem. Yeats prays for his daughter to find a husband who will provide her a stable, comfortable, and a traditional filled home. He wants her to marry into tradition and find a stable way of life. And may her bridegroom bring her to a house where all is custom, ceremony. Above all, he wants her to marry into a home where tradition dominates. Yeats seeks safety in the past. His idea for his daughter seems sexiest, but by today's standard, this idea represents a dream of stability in an insecure world. Above all, he wants her to marry into a house where tradition dominates. I'm repeating. He wants her house should be full of happiness and her life full of joy. This is the wish, the prayer of the father in the poem.